Hey there, friends. Pastor Dave here with another weekly devotion for all the saints. It is the Easter season, this post-resurrection season. As we remember Christ is risen, I want to share a quick reading from Sarah Arthur's Coffee with God to help us think about the importance of that simple story. Now, if I've told this story once, I've told it 1,000 times, but I'll tell it again because I love it so much. When I was in college, I volunteered with an inner city ministry for children in the housing projects on the south side of Chicago. Every spring we had an Easter banquet, and the kids would get all dressed up and behave like saints for 5 minutes or so. This particular year, I had a little girl named Kiki on my lap. She looked so cute in her Sunday best, and she was acting prim and proper for once. I knew my time was limited, so while I had her attention, I said, "Kiki, do you know why we're having this party? Have you ever heard the Easter story?" She shook her head. So I said, "There once was a man named Jesus," and went ahead and told what happened to him in words she could understand. The whole time I was speaking, Kiki was perfectly still, like a child enchanted. It was as if I were weaving a magic spell, reciting a string of words that had the power to change the fate of mortals. When I was done, there was a pause, and then she said, "Tell it again." So I did, and when I was done telling it a second time, she pointed to her friend who was sitting next to us and said, "Tell her." So I said, "You help me tell her," and together we shared the Easter story. It's so easy for those of us who've heard the story all our lives to forget the power of that tale, how it grips the imagination like a spell of enchantment. Did you know that's where the word gospel comes from? From the Old English for good spell or good story. The story of Jesus is indeed a good spell, the good magic, the best kind of enchantment that can transform lives. How could we ever forget? You know, saints, the Easter story is central to our faith. It is central to who we understand Jesus to be, how we understand God to work, who we understand ourselves as his followers. It is critical that we know this Easter story, this story of Jesus' life and death and resurrection. It's hard sometimes for us to imagine people who don't know that story. A lot of us don't interact with anyone. We would be hard-pressed to name someone in our friend group who doesn't have some basic understanding of Jesus' story. And so for us who are so steeped in that, and our culture, even our specifically local Lynchburg culture, that is so steeped in this kind of baseline understanding of Christianity, it's a fascinating project to try to imagine telling that story to someone for the first time. Can you think of how you would put Jesus' life and death and resurrection into words if you were trying to explain him to someone who didn't know him at all? It's worth taking a few minutes to do that. Because even if you don't have someone in mind that you could share that story with, what you're doing is you are rediscovering and re-engaging with what it is that's essential about his ministry. If we all did that project together, I imagine we would all come up with slight variations in the stories. I think we would pretty quickly understand why there are 4 Gospels, and maybe why there should have been quite a few more than that. Because we would each find different things that we focus on, different points in his teaching, in his ministry, in his miracles, in his life, that we thought were most worthy of our attention. And maybe somebody else would find something not quite the same. So what does that show us? That maybe it is worth sharing the gospel, the good news, the good story, even with people who've already heard it. Because perhaps our perspective on it would be illuminating to them, or their perspective would be illuminating to us. Maybe you've got someone in your life like Kiki that you could tell the story to, but you've also got plenty of other people who you could tell your own understanding of the story to, and it could be a blessing to them. Maybe you want to do that this week. Maybe that's something that's worth spending a little time just to share your own version of the good news that Christ is risen with the people around you. Saints, that's your devotion for this week. Hope it's helpful, worth thinking about. Hope you are doing well and staying healthy. I'll be praying for you. Please keep praying for me, and I will see y'all again soon. Take care.